Before we begin today, I first want to take a moment to acknowledge the traditional owners of this land, the Jinnabara people, and acknowledge their continuing connection to the land and waters of this region. I pay my respects to the elders, past and present, and I also want to take a moment to recognise them as the first ecologists and scientists of this land. We're just now catching up, or attempting to catch up, on this knowledge that they have had for thousands and thousands of years. I'd also like to extend my gratitude to the planting for this opportunity to speak and learn with you all today, and also to my dear friend and mentor Helen Schwenker, who can't be here today, and for lending me so much of her knowledge, her guidance, and her kindness. So, my name is Lucinda. I'm an ecologist based in Meanjin, and my primary focus is on freshwater and terrestrial invertebrates and how they're interacting with the world around them. My first love in life was spiders as a toddler. As you can see, I'm holding the Wildlife of Greater Brisbane book there, and it's cracked open to the spider section, of course, which I still have, and it's still the most opened up to section to this day. But then from there, it continued to grow into a love and a passion for just about any bug, arachnid, worm, mollusk, pretty much any other little critter with no backbone and either too many legs or no legs at all. And now it evolved into me studying ecology at UniSC, where I'm currently working on my postgrad, and which is also where I first discovered just the amount of value that eco-literacy, connection to place, and community science can bring to our lives. For the past 3 or 4 years now, I've been working with Helen Schwenker, who many of you have probably come across during her 23 odd years at Woodford. And together, actually we met at the festival a few years ago, where I pretty much all but begged her to let me volunteer with her, and so I could just pick her brain and steal any of that insect knowledge from her that I could get. Together, we have been working together to connect people to the fascinating ecological world around them through guided walks and talks and workshops. In addition, we have also been working with Leslie Ballantyne, who's on the right there. She is Australia's sole firefly researcher. She has had the privilege of studying them in Australia and in Southeast Asia since the 60s, and nearly all of the information that you're going to hear about Australia's fireflies is as the result of her hard work. Together, the three of us, Helen and I, run the Fireflies of Australia Facebook group, which is our sort of project aiming to connect people to fireflies and to create a firefly culture in Australia so that we can further the research and protect our own populations. So what actually are fireflies? Well, despite the name, they're actually a type of beetle in the family Lampyridae, and there are over 2,400 described species worldwide. They undergo metamorphosis, like a butterfly or bees, spending the majority of their life as larvae, before and really quite prehistoric looking larvae too. If you have a look at that one, they look like little dinosaurs almost. And then they pupate and then emerge as an adult, which is what we are almost familiar with. They have very diverse strategies across the species. In some species, especially those in Asia, some of them have aquatic larvae, meaning they spend the first period of their life living in the water, whereas most other species are terrestrial, living in the leaf litter, where they can feed on microsnails, slugs, and pretty much any other really small, soft-bodied invertebrate that they can get their jaws on. They're also voracious predators as larvae. It's where they do most of their eating for the rest of their lifespan. They have these really quite incredible mandibles they use to pierce onto their prey to inject them with a paralytic venom and digestive enzymes, and then they kind of slurp it all up. But for the adults, it's also quite diverse, so some don't feed at all once they're in adulthood. Some feed on pollen or nectar. There are even a few species, which I very much love, who lure in the males of other species. They use their flash to mimic that of other species, so they can lure in the males and then they feed on them. It's a pretty brutal life, these very lovely little bugs. Now, fireflies are thought to have first utilised the ability to produce light approximately 100 million years ago. It's a chemical reaction, an oxidizing reaction that happens in these specialised cells called the lantern. That's a little white patch on the sort of underside of the abdomen. It's an oxidizing reaction which combines luciferin compounds with an enzyme called luciferase. This produces quite a bright, like greenish or yellowish light, depending on the species and depending on the compounds used. And it's also a really highly efficient reaction. Over 90% of the energy is emitted as light. Only 10% is emitted as heat. That is more efficient than like the average LED. It is incredible. Again, I was going to say engineering, but it's not really engineering, is it? It's believed that this strategy first started in the larval stage. This is when they first started using their ability to produce light. And they used it as a defense mechanism known as aposematism. So as with many other insects, fireflies are really quite like distasteful to predators. They often have like a pretty like bitter or just unpleasant taste. And predators have a really good memory for bad culinary experiences. So just like a blue-ringed octopus with like the bright blue rings, or like poison dart frogs, like with the bright colours, it is a way of saying, bugger off, don't eat me or you're gonna regret it. Over time, evolution and ecological partitioning shaped this ability into its next role, which is sexual communication. The light show that we're all most familiar with is a courtship dialogue between the adult male and female fireflies. It's a way of advertising their reproductive fitness to each other. As they flash their lights in a particular pattern of on and off intervals, and this will vary from species to species. Each species has their own patterns that they use. And because this process of producing light is so metabolically expensive, and because they have really quite short adult lifespans, they have a pretty small window that they can reproduce in, where they have enough energy and enough time. So that's how we ended up with display seasons with fireflies. Like while they only show during certain times of night or during certain times of year, it's a way of maximizing their chances, because it's like a time that's been set through evolution that everyone is pretty much ready to go, they're all on board, and I don't think I need to explain what happens next. So yeah, this means that we often see really short display seasons. So it might just be in like in winter, or it might just be a few months. It might show just in an hour-long window throughout the evening, or there are some that show throughout the evening as well. Yeah. So all of that was really quite general firefly information. But how about the fireflies in our own backyards? So we are very lucky to be home to 24 named species. There could be a few more, we're not too sure yet. And they're found right at the very top end of Australia, around Cape York, as you can see, in the Northern Territory, very top of Western Australia, and then right down the eastern seaboard, down as far south as about the Illawarra. And they're always found in like rainforest or wet eucalypt forest, or anything just really like very like moist, wet leaf litter that can support their prey. Now, today I'm going to introduce you to two species that are found around southeast Queensland. That's Adaphylla scintillans and Australociola nigra. Now, I know that these sound like some big and scary scientific names, but we don't actually have common names for them yet. So if you have any ideas for common names, come and find me afterwards, because I've been a bit stumped. We've been trying to work on this, and we're getting a little stumped with ideas. So this guy is Adaphylla scintillans. This is the most well-known and documented species in southeast Queensland. Its known range stretches from just around the Sunshine Coast down to around Newcastle, as you can see. And both the where was I at? And yeah, so they're always living in those sort of forests that have that moist enough leaf litter to support their prey. Now they have a very spectacular display in late winter, early spring. It's really, really beautiful. And this is as a result of one specific sexually dimorphic trait. So if we look at the male, you can see that it has these dark, I'm just going to show you. These dark, hardened, these are called the elytra. They're like the forewing that has been modified. These are all beetles, pretty much. It's hard, and it protects the more delicate wings underneath, the hind wings. But if you look at the female, her elytra are really quite small and undeveloped. And the hind wings underneath that are vestigial and also undeveloped enough that it leaves her flightless. So instead, she stays on the ground, and the males will all take flight and try try and keep an eye out for the ladies. So in the early evening, in the sort of late winter, early spring, right after the last light, all of a sudden, seemingly out of nowhere, hundreds of males will take flight and will fly around to the head height, maybe like around 6 foot off the ground, looking for a female on the ground who, if she's interested, she will flash her abdomen, mimic his pattern, we believe, as that's what's happening, and then the male will fly down and, yeah, magic happens. And this display goes on for about an hour in the evenings. And then pretty much as soon as the lovely little flashes start, they start to dwindle and they just stop. Now this is Australociola nigra. This one's not quite as commonly known, but if you've ever had the fortune of a firefly accidentally flying into your house around here, it was probably one of these guys. As opposed to Adapella scintillans, both the males and females have developed wings capable of flight. So the big, large mating displays, like Adapella scintillans, aren't really as necessary. Instead, you usually just see like 1 or 2 individuals throughout the night. And they're also, we also believe that they're showing throughout the night as well, rather than just for a set, like, hour-long window. We've seen them, I've personally seen them as late as, like, 11 o'clock, 12 a.m. But we don't really know exactly how long. You may also notice that we don't yet have photos of the larva or the pupa. I think we do have specimens out there. I think there are descriptions of them, but we don't have any photos yet. They're really quite uncommon to find. They're not quite as easy as Adapella scintillans, and even they are really quite tricky, so it is a bit of a challenge. Yeah, and they're found, as you can see, all throughout coastal Queensland. There are a few other records in Northern Territory, but they're primarily a Queensland species. And they also show around mid-December through to around January or February. We do have a few records or sightings from around October through to as late as April, but again, we don't really have much proof of this yet, and we're still really trying to figure this out. We think it might be varying with location, possibly, with temperature. Again, there's so many questions. We really don't know very much. Oh, these guys are also a very common visitor of Woodfordia. So if you're ever around, during the main festival, I've heard many tales of people drunkenly stumbling back to their tent in the middle of the night and then coming across a few of these flying around once everyone else's lights have gone out. They're pretty spectacular to find. Now, unfortunately, that is about all that we know of these 2 species. And it's much the same for Australia's 22 other species. It is just a complete hydra of unanswered questions. Every time we answer one, 3 more pop up in its place. And the funding and the necessary manpower for this research is really quite hard to come by. Once upon a time, we believe that every gully in southeast Queensland, pretty much every gully, would have been twinkling in the evenings. And now obviously they're not, from the habitat loss and light pollution. And we don't actually really understand just how much their populations have declined, because none of this research was done beforehand, before the populations really started to dwindle. And this is pretty scary. We are facing a biodiversity and extinction crisis across the globe. I mean, I don't think I really need to tell you guys that. But the organisms that are most in danger, insects, are also the ones that they are the pillar holding up the rest of life on Earth. Fireflies are a lot more than just their very beautiful light show. They are an essential piece in this biodiversity mosaic, and protecting that starts right here with us. So, there are many ways to help, like helping to preserve or restore bushland, as we're all sort of doing today, further degradation, or by creating your own biodiverse garden full of local natives. These will also have the benefits of supporting all of the other critters that live in those ecosystems around us. And if you really want to learn more on this as well, I very highly recommend the work of my mentor, Helen Schwenker, who's authored multiple books on exactly this, especially Inviting Nature to Dinner. It's a really great one if you are interested in that. But another way to help is by actually getting involved in the science yourself. With something like fireflies, with a small, or with really quite a wide distribution and a small window for surveying, The citizen scientists can be an absolutely vital help for researchers by providing us with that essential data that we otherwise don't really have the capabilities to go out and record ourselves. Now, while most literature focuses on citizen science, like scientific value and its impact on research, there is also quite a lot of emerging research on how beneficial it can be for the citizen scientists themselves. It helps to foster it helps to strengthen our connection with nature, our connection with place. It inspires feelings of joy and calm. And I think most importantly, it fosters eco-literacy skills in our community, which are skills that we have lost. Like for the majority, we've just lost so much of our eco-literacy. Studies on participants of nature-based citizen science programs have reported increases in pro-nature conservation behaviours afterwards, as well as an increase in feelings of personal satisfaction and even feelings of like a worthwhile life. Yes, it does also help researchers bridge those gaps, those large gaps in the data, but I think it also has great potential to help act as a salve to soothe the sting of eco-grief and the climate uncertainty that more and more of us are feeling every single day. So if you are keen to give it a go, the best place to start with getting involved is with our Facebook group, Fireflies of Australia. This group has an abundance of resources in there, and it can be something as simple as visiting a nearby creek or a reserve where you think there might be fireflies, and then reporting back to that group if there were, and just by taking clear photos of the fireflies so we can identify them. This information can then allow us to model species distribution and figure out just what like ecological and bioclimatic factors are shaping their how they live, where they live, because we just don't really quite have enough data to figure this out yet. And if you have any further questions about fireflies, you can pop them in the group. Leslie, Helen and I check it every single day, and we like to answer every question there as best as we can. We also have lots of helpful little bits and pieces, like we have data sheets that you can print off and take with you into the field, and lots of other guides and articles that can help you with your firefly science journey. Helen and I also lead walks and workshops around the region, and the Fireflies of Australia group is always where we post about them first. And we're really hoping to expand on these this year as well. We're hoping to start doing them a lot more like Firefly specific tours. So if you are keen in joining us one day, then I very much recommend joining the group so you can be the first to know. Now, one of the main tenets of science is to make sure that we aren't negatively impacting what we're studying. Firefly populations are threatened by many factors, like habitat loss, pesticide pollution, artificial light at night is another big one. But one of the other biggest factors that is much less known is that tourism is actually affecting their populations too. So when we're out looking for fireflies, whether it's just to enjoy them or if it's to do some citizen science, it's important that we also do our very best to mitigate our impacts on them and on their habitat, while also being sure to protect our own safety. Because I don't really want anyone going out and like getting bit by a snake or something and then coming back and blaming me for telling you to go look for bugs. So I've played like a little bit of a list to sort of help out. Now first, before you go, I very much recommend that you wear long pants, long sleeves, and appropriate closed-toed shoes. This is not just home to fireflies, there's a lot of other stuff out there too. You've got snakes, spiders, ticks, leeches, all of the fun stuff. So make sure that you're prepared for that, and it is also their home, so we should respect them. Before you go also, you should clean your shoes. It is very, very easy to unintentionally bring in weeds or plant pathogens on our shoes without even meaning to. Like you can bring in like myrtle rust or phytophthora, and so many seeds get trapped in on our shoes, or with pets, so people bring their pets to these sorts of areas, so make sure that everything is clean as possible. If you also wash the soles with diluted bleach, it will also help to prevent the spread of chytrid fungus, which is one of like the biggest contributors to frog population decline across the globe, and it's a really big issue, so we should be making sure that we're protecting the whole ecosystem when we go. And lastly, consider going to the location early, while the sun is still up. Firefly habitat is often very uneven, there can be lots of hazards like sticks and rocks, So, and they're going to be a lot harder to see in the dark. So if you go beforehand, you can get yourself familiar with the land, you can sort of eye out any hazards that you need to be aware of, and you can just really situate yourself. It's also just a really great opportunity to get to see all the daytime critters as well, and get to know them. Now, while the fireflies are actually displaying, please, no flash photography, very much disrupts them. No capturing them either, leave them where they are, please. Speak quietly, because again, they're not the only residents, so please be respectful of all critters. Avoid smoking and heavy perfume. We believe that some of these fireflies might be relying on pheromone communication as well as light communication, and these strong smells will really impact that and can really affect how they can communicate with each other. Avoid the use of insect repellent like DEET, DEET and picardin. Consider covering up with clothes instead. I know the mosquitoes can be so bad, believe me, I have done my time in the field, I really get just how bad the mosquitoes can be, but the DEET and picardin-based repellents can be really, really detrimental to insect health, especially if you end up handling anything. So please, if you must apply it at home or beforehand and wash your hands, or just consider covering up with clothing instead, which I think works so much better than DEET anyway. And most importantly, stay on the track, stay on the marked track at all times, please. We really, really take the impact of our footprints for granted, but each step that you are taking is having the same impact on the soil as a bulldozer, just much smaller. When we trample soil, leaf litter, low vegetation, we can kill fireflies, like the larva, the pupa, or even the adults, as well as all the other little creatures that are there. It leads to further fragmentation of habitat, it widens paths, and that really limits the movements of birds, mammals, and other animals as well. I know it's tempting, especially when it is busy, and because we really just think, it's just me, I'm just one person walking off the path, but it does add up, and it really does make a big difference. So please, stay on the trail. Be good. So keen-eyed or keen-eared listeners may have noticed that I haven't yet mentioned what light you should bring with you. This is a little bit of a contentious topic, and there's still a lot of research that we need to do on just what best practice is when it comes to bringing artificial light, like torches and phones and stuff like that, into firefly habitat. We know that fireflies and many other nocturnal creatures are most sensitive to blue and white light, like that emitted by the average torch or your phone. And we know this disrupts their courtship displays. It outcompetes the light that they produce, and therefore impacts their ability to mate. Studies have shown that amber and red lights they are much less receptive to them, so it disrupts them a lot less. Though it's still best to be keeping it as minimal as possible, as we still need a lot of research to be done on just what frequencies of light and what brightness of lights is impairing them. When it comes to navigating the forest at night, or if needed for safety, obviously we can't have the lights up all the time, but try and keep it pointed at the ground or obscured by your hand. I also much prefer using amber light. There's a lot of studies starting to show that amber light, as opposed to red light, is better on our eyes and better for safety when navigating. I know I personally much prefer it. I find it puts a lot less strain on my eyes than red light, and helps better with depth perception, but again, it's kind of just up to you which one you prefer. And now if you don't already have amber or red light, you don't need to go, like a torch or something, you don't actually need to go out and buy one. I've had a lot of success with folding up like a sheet of cellophane to be like 8 to 16 layers thick, and then securing that to my torch, my head torch, whatever it is, and like just shine the light through that instead. It actually works really quite well. Kind of like this picture, but this is from someone's, I couldn't get a picture of my torch for it, so I had to take a photo of someone's physics project, and it's not quite as many layers of cellophane as I think would work best. Helen and her daughter Amelia have also experimented with using alcohol markers and just simply colouring in the lens of the torch. This has actually worked really, really well, but again, we still need to be making sure that we're actually minimizing it and bringing in as little light as possible. Keep it pointed at the ground or partially obscured while you're navigating these environments. I also recommend just while the fireflies are displaying, just staying in place and turning off all of your lights, just enjoying it. The forest with no, like at night with no light at all is a completely different experience than during the day, and it's not something we ever really get to experience very often. We very rarely experience like true darkness, and it is quite a magnificent thing to experience. So I really recommend just giving it a try. It can be a little scary, I'm not gonna lie. So another essential part in the endeavour is to post clear photos of the firefly species found so that it can be identified. I know I said earlier to avoid flash photography and capturing fireflies, but this is the one exception to that rule as long as we're minimising our impacts on them. So fireflies are really quite low and slow flyers. It's really quite easy to just like scoop one out of the air with the palm of your hand, and then from there you can place it into a small clear container or a Ziploc bag or something similar so that you can take photos of it. I personally find Ziploc bags to work the best because you can very gently press the top layer of plastic around the firefly so it's not running away from you, and that gives you a short opportunity to get a really clear photo of both the top side and the underside. Both of those, the top and the underside, are very essential for the identification process. They have a lot of essential features on there that we need to see to identify it. So yeah, nice clear photos like these taken by our member Jenny Wright. She does a wonderful job with the firefly stuff. She really is, she puts everything into it. She takes some really great photos, and as a result we've actually found a lot of really cool like contributions because of like to the science because of her citizen science work. Yeah, so with things like with the species like Attaphylla scintillans, the females are going to be laying eggs in around the same areas that the males are flying. So we also need to be keeping an eye on the ground for little flashes, because that could be larvae, it could be pupa, it could be females. And these are all still really quite unknown. We know, like, as you saw earlier with the Australia nigra, we have no photos of the larval, the pupal stages. So keep an eye out for the little things on the ground, because that is where we need the most focus at the moment. Now for the longer term record, it's also really helpful to post your like top and underside pictures to iNaturalist as well as a Facebook group, which is the world's largest biodiversity database. I'm sure many of you are familiar with it. They'll either be identified on Facebook or on iNat by Leslie, or maybe on both platforms. And that information on iNaturalist will in turn become included in Australia's national biodiversity database, which is the Atlas of Living Australia. This is where a lot of scientists pull their records from, so this is where the data needs to be. It's where, yeah, it's a really essential resource for us. And if you feel like putting on your science hat, you can even try making observations about their behaviours and reporting that in the group as well, alongside your photos. So like what time they start and stop flashing, if they have any particular, you can get a video of the actual flashing patterns that they're doing, because we haven't matched those up to the species yet. We don't really know what their flashes actually look like. Or if you find any larva or pupa or where they might be hiding out, this information is so valuable to us. We're still trying to piece together their ecological strategies. We really just have no clue for the vast majority of them. So any and all information it's very, very good for us. Now, what else can we do to protect the fireflies and their habitat all the time, not just when they're out displaying? So artificial light at night, or ALAN, is one of the main contributors to firefly population decline, as well as insects in general. So please try to shield your home from emitting it where you can. So you can do this like by just turning off your exterior lights or putting them on a very short timer, especially if you live near fireflies or if you are lucky enough to have them on your property. You should also try and avoid pesticide and herbicide usage in your garden, as even localized applications can just run off with a little bit of rain. And a lot of pesticides are not as discriminatory as they are advertised, and they might just be having a much bigger ecosystem impact than we are aware of. If you are lucky enough to have a property with fireflies and their habitat, you can help them by just maintaining that habitat, keeping it sort of weed-free and keeping it healthy, keeping it moist. And they need that moist soil and that leaflet to support their prey and to facilitate their life cycles, as well as that decent understory vegetation and a varied substrate with like rocks and roots and everything to help protect them from predators. Now be careful when doing regenerative work, like especially weeding, as these gung-ho, like extractive approaches to weeding can often create, can often disturb the soil and create more issues, create basically a big weed-shaped hole is how I like to describe it. And it kind of doesn't really, it often just is causing more damage than it is helping. Surprisingly, we also keep finding fireflies in amongst lantana. We really don't know why, and this is making some of our communication about like weeds and everything a lot more difficult because we really don't understand what's going on. The fireflies seem to really like lantana. So if you take instead a more ecological approach, like slowly shading out the lantana with like a local native, it's going to be a lot less disruptive on the soil, it's going to help protect those fireflies, and also it's just a more successful regenerative approach anyway. This can't really guarantee, all of this can't really guarantee that fireflies will move onto your property if they aren't already there, but at the very least it's going to help encourage and support all of the other little critters, you know? We love the fireflies, but we love everything else as well. Sharing our knowledge is also one of the best things that we can do on a community sort of scale. So tell your family, bring your friends along to witness firefly magic. You can also help campaign to protect these habitats by talking with community leaders, discouraging the use of pesticides, and protesting development that would destroy habitat. And if you see someone doing the wrong thing while you're out looking for fireflies, just try gently reminding them of the impact that they might be having, and that fireflies aren't the only things living there as well. You can also join community land care groups, come to the planting, help with putting in the actual work to restore and bring back that degraded land. And again, citizen science is so valuable to researchers. The work of people like you and Fireflies of Australia has already led us to some really wonderful new information. Like Jenny Wright, she's really helped us sort of match up the females and the pupas of these species up in far north Queensland. And the data collected by the group is even currently being collated to help the IUCN with their upcoming Red List assessment, which is the world's biggest and most comprehensive information source about the population status of species across the globe. So, now is where I let you on a little secret that I've been keeping. Now don't be mad, but I only use the fireflies today as a way to lure you all in. My true agenda is to get you to go out and experience the ecosystem for yourself. Not just the fireflies or like koalas or whatever charismatic creatures are out there, but the whole ecosystem. Biodiversity is one of Earth's just greatest strengths, and it's also one of its most beautiful offerings. It's also one of the most powerful weapons in our arsenal against climate change. We all enjoy like greenery and nature and all that, but it's so much more than just green stuff. It's a complex system of interactions, and the only way to get even close to understanding it is to get involved with it and actually experience it for yourself. So please go and look for fireflies, please do. It really is so much fun, it's wonderful. But while you're there, also take a moment to put your hands in the soil. Every fleck of dirt underneath your fingernails, even though it seems so insignificant, is only there because of the hard work of millions of other organisms before you. Every breath that you take is full of oxygen that's been laboured over by the trees that are over you, and every beat of a wing, every chirp from a cricket, every rustle of a leaf is a lesson from the earth to you. And the greatest gift that we can give Earth is to actually just pay attention to what she wants to teach us. At a time where the extent of climate change and habitat loss and everything can feel so overwhelming, depressing, isolating, it's never been more important that we put our hands in the soil and feel the reciprocity between us and the earth. So please, get out there, find some fireflies, be safe, have fun, but most importantly, just pay attention. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
I heard Helen once say an interesting fact that you didn't say, that firefly larvae survive on fungus that grows off slug poo. Is that correct?
We don't really know, but we do think that fungus is having a big part in it. So we think that they're eating the micro snails and like the little tiny slugs, and what they eat is like the mycelium and the fungus in the soil. So it's sort of an example of like, even though the fireflies seem kind of simple, like okay, it's a firefly, it just eats this and it lives there. It's like You have to look at the whole system. You have to see what it is also eating, like what their prey is eating, and yeah, it's the fungus. So you also need really good soil health as well. Yeah. Anything else? Yeah.
If the lighting up is a courting process and you have a single firefly in your house, are they trying to find a mate, or are they just is that then an alarm instead?
So with a lot of insects, especially those that are around at night, and this is also why you see them coming to, like, all sort of insects at night where they get attracted to like the lights of your house or something. We're actually throwing off their navigational system, so they use the moon to know which way is up, basically. So then they try and keep the light source above them. So when we have these really bright lights in our houses, we're just completely just frying their navigational system. They don't know where they're going. Like, they are just really, really confused. And then oftentimes they're just keeping flashing, because we think that there might also be fireflies that are flashing to warn the other fireflies that there's like an issue of sorts. We've been seeing some doing a unique flashing pattern when they're caught in spider webs. They keep flashing, and we think that this might be a way of them saying, "Watch out, man! Don't come over this way." But again, we really don't know, unfortunately, all that much. Yeah. Yeah.
When the fireflies flashing, or after the adults die and then the larvae, they're all just down in leaf litter?
Yeah, we think so. I very, very, very much doubt that the fireflies are surviving more, like the adult fireflies are surviving more than that season. And for the rest of it, they spend the vast majority of their life as larvae. So we don't know exactly how long they're spending as larvae, though. Forgot to mention that. This is one of the big questions. We don't know if they're living for like 1 year or 2 years. We really aren't quite sure yet. So this is another one of our questions that we've got to answer. Yeah?
In the future, like, if you want to find out the answers to this, is there any way to access funding, or is universities encouraging research in this?
It's hard. Finding that funding is really, really hard. Hopefully, I'm hoping to start doing a PhD on this next year, and then that will bring in, fingers crossed, bring in a bit of, like, a few grants and funding. But the grants and funding for like entomology stuff outside of agricultural applications, it's really quite few and far between. There's not a lot of it out there, unfortunately. Yeah. Yep.
Have there ever been attempts to do the breeding cycle in captivity?
Leslie Valentine has accidentally done it once, and it was purely by accident. All like purposeful attempts, we have not had any success yet, because they need to be eating the micro snails. You also need the micro snails to have all of their needs cared for it as well. Yeah, but we're working on it. We're getting there. Hopefully, with more research, like once we actually find out what the like the bioclimatic variables and stuff are affecting them, that's going to be able to help us then find a way to do it in captivity. Yeah. Any other questions? Oh, that one was, sorry, I should have repeated it. That question was about like if we've had any success with breeding them in captivity. Yeah, and no. Any other questions? No? Oh, I did forget to add, actually, if you do have fireflies on your property, and if you are wanting to get involved with some citizen science stuff, especially like a bit more kind of hands-on-y rather than just like going out and looking for them, come and find me afterwards, and I would like to get your details if you're interested, because yeah, Helen and I are hoping that with this year we're going to start a project with a lot of like land for wildlife property owners and everything, so that we can, you know, try and get a bit less of more like long-term like observation going on. Yeah. Anything else? No? All right, great. Thank you all very much. Thanks.